This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states. This episode is brought to you by AT&T, the network that helps Americans make connections. When you compare, there's no comparison. AT&T. If you are wondering what exactly is about to happen with food benefits in this country, I've got an idea for you. Go on over to USDA.gov. You have probably already heard that the Trump administration is refusing to send supplemental nutrition funding, otherwise known as SNAP or food stamps, to the states. They are blaming the government shutdown for this decision. But it helps to listen to the GOP's logic in their own words. Have you visited USDA.gov recently?
Oh my gosh, I haven't in about a week, but is it still hilarious?
I asked Northwestern economist Lindsay Allen to check out the USDA's site just yesterday. Basically, the whole website is just this statement saying Senate Democrats have now voted 12 times to not fund the food stamp program, also known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. Bottom line, the well has run dry. At this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st. We are approaching an inflection point for Senate Democrats. They can continue to hold out for health care for illegal aliens and gender mutilation procedures, or reopen the government so mothers, babies, and the most vulnerable among us can receive critical nutrition assistance. Whew.
We need some swelling music in the background for that inspiring message.
Lindsay is being facetious here, but you probably figured that out. And then right below that it says, "We're here for you."
This is political theater at its most cruel.
To be clear, very little of that statement on a taxpayer-funded website is actually correct. Democrats have not voted down a plan to fund SNAP, though they have withheld their support for ending a government shutdown. They are not sitting on their hands as some kind of statement about immigration or trans healthcare either. Oh, and then there's the fact that the GOP could pass any legislation it wanted to right now. After all, Republicans control all three branches of government. So saying this is an inflection point for the Senate Democrats is misleading at best. What is true is that Donald Trump's White House has decided that funding food for the needy is not a priority for them. Lindsay says starting this weekend, the 40 million Americans who rely on SNAP are going to start to notice.
So if you have used up all of your October benefits, which most people will have because this is not a population that has, a financial cushion or has the luxury of waiting to spend their money over the course of the month, you will go to swipe your card and there will be nothing on it.
I think a lot of people have gotten used to hearing about funding cuts over the past month or so because of the government shutdown, or at least hearing about money being moved around and the potential consequences of that. Like I'm hearing reporting about people working at airports not getting paid, things like that. How does the scale of this SNAP funding cliff compare to what we've already seen?
So it's going to be huge. So we're talking billions of dollars.
Have we ever seen a pause in funding like this?
Not for food assistance and not for this length of time that we anticipate that it's going to be.
I noticed that the United Way had this post on Facebook. They actually recommended that Americans give out non-perishable food on Halloween instead of candy, or maybe alongside candy, stuff like ramen and protein bars, mac and cheese. It seemed like a crazy suggestion to me, but also maybe just a sign of how far we'd come. What do you think about that suggestion? Is it crazy?
I have already bought my Easy Mac to give out alongside my ring pops.
So you're already doing this.
Oh, yeah, we're doing it. I am handing out food and then ring pops, and then I always plan to have a non-food item. So I have glow-in-the-dark bouncy balls per my kids' suggestion and request. SNAP is the safety net. And I've had so many conversations over the past several days with journalists saying, "So now what? What comes now?" And it's hard to accept that nothing happens. The safety net is your last, it's the last layer before you hit concrete.
I mean, it sounds like you're saying the next level of the safety net is us.
It is. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do enough. So we want to do everything we can. It's not going to be enough.
Today on the show, it sure sounds like the government is about to cut off food aid for the poor. Who thinks that's a good idea? I'm Mary Harris. You're listening to What Next? Stick around. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks makes it easy to find the perfect gifts and holiday looks that suit your personal style. The holidays can be a whole lot of things. Fun, relaxing, but also a little stressful because you've got a long list of friends and family and you gotta find a gift for everyone. If you go over to Saks.com, I guarantee it's gonna jumpstart all of your ideas for what you should be getting your friends and family. It is the only website on the internet where you're going to find super high-end luxury Prada sneakers next to a crystal floral A-line gown from MacDougall. And then that's right next to a Cynthia Rowley ombre long-sleeved wetsuit. These are things I did not know existed until I went to Saks.com. And now I'm like, maybe I should be getting a bathing suit for my mom this Christmas. Maybe. Going into this holiday season, I feel confident Saks is there to help me find inspiration, curate a holiday wish list, pick out gifts for my loved ones, and have a look ready whatever might come my way. Whether it's an office holiday party, a cozy night in, or a vacation getaway, Saks has got everything you could want. If you're looking for shopping to be personalized and easy this holiday season, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to shop for everyone on your list.
This episode is brought to you by Planned Parenthood Federation of America. With everything going on in the world today, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and want to tune it all out. Don't. Planned Parenthood is counting on you. Planned Parenthood is on the front lines every day and defending our rights when healthcare is under attack. And right now, they need you. Here's why. The Trump administration and Congress passed a law to defund Planned Parenthood. It's a devastating blow to patients and America's already broken healthcare system. Planned Parenthood health centers are committed to providing care, no matter what, but they need your help to do it. Whether you give a little or a lot, your gift says something about who you are. Someone who shows up for what's right, who believes people who need care should be able to get it. Please don't wait. Go to plannedparenthood.org/defend and give today.
This episode is brought to you by AT&T, the network that helps Americans make connections. When you compare, there's no comparison. AT&T.
Okay, we've laid out this funding cliff that we're about to teeter over unless something big changes in the next few days. Can you just tell me the story of how we got here? Because I've covered more than a few government shutdowns. I have never heard of a shutdown for food stamps.
It's what earlier I said, this is political theater at its most cruel. And I truly mean that. It is unfathomable to me that we have decided that food and healthcare are partisan issues. We are, for the past several years now, most specifically in the last year, we have been feeling a fear of we might not have enough to go around because the economy is getting worse for regular people like you and me. And it's getting especially worse for marginalized groups, especially intersectional populations. And so the safety net is becoming more important now than it ever has been. And that includes health and food. And then we are yanking it away against that larger context of we need it more now than ever.
I do want to talk about the fact that um, there are potential solutions for the SNAP cliff, the food benefit cliff that we're looking at for November 1st. First one, the USDA has emergency funds available that could cover some, but not all of November's shortfall. So why aren't they being used?
Well, why aren't they being used? I personally can't understand why they're not being used. But what we're being told is that the USDA is not able to use those funds because they're taking this very narrow interpretation of their authority right now, which, according to them, says that the contingency funds are only allowed to be used for programs that are currently appropriated for. And because there's no continuing resolution, because there's no appropriations for SNAP right now, the USDA says that their hands are tied and they're not able to use that very available contingency fund.
25 states agree with you. They've sued the Trump administration,
Yeah.
saying they should release these emergency funds. Do we even know how much money is in there and how long it would last if it was released?
I've seen that it's about $5 billion. So no, it's not enough to cover everything, but it is enough to issue at least partial benefits.
SNAP costs $8 billion a month.
Exactly. So we could get 5 billion perhaps of that covered, which is it perfect? No, but it's $5 billion worth of food that people are going to have access to. And it might get us closer if we have that 5 billion, then maybe this kind of safety net of the safety net that we're cobbling together in our communities and in states, maybe we might get through this if they were to use that money.
With no action from the federal government, some states are trying to come up with their own funding. Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, for example, declared a state of emergency and launched a state food aid program that is going to put money directly onto SNAP recipients' EBT cards. Other states, like New York, are considering sending kids home with extra food from school.
I think school lunches are going to be more important than ever. I've already told my kids that if you see someone with a big plate, you offer them more food off of your plate, because right now, schools are where people are going to get their only nutrition if this happens. So states can, of course, do things at that community level, the school level.
It sounds like some states, places like Texas and Florida, aren't really planning for what happens now. What is that going to mean?
That is not surprising to me. And it means that people are going to go hungry. And we are so used to there always being a next option because of things like this safety net, because the United States believes that we need to step in when people are at their low point, especially if it keeps them healthy and well and able to contribute to our economy in productive ways. But people are going to go hungry, and we have to wrap our heads around that.
Are people going to see people going hungry? I ask that, it's impossible to not think about. For instance, we've seen these shocking images out of Gaza where people literally were starving. But it took so much imagery and people fought back so hard about what their eyes were showing them. I just wonder if people even recognize what it means to be hungry in the way that people in the United States may be made hungry by what's about to happen. Because I'm not sure we'll see children looking like skin and bones.
No.
But I think that we will see kids being distracted. I don't know. What would you say to that?
We will absolutely see kids being distracted. We will see adults not performing as well as they normally would at work. We're going to see families making really hard decisions about paying their rent, about paying for medications that they need, about paying for childcare. So we might not be seeing, mid-November, these kids and these terrible images akin to what we're seeing in Gaza, but we will absolutely be seeing families skip meals, adults going hungry to feed their kids. We're going to see seniors ration their food, and we're going to start hearing phrases like choosing between food and rent again.
Congress could actually do something here. right? And Republicans and Democrats are floating bills to this effect. Like you saw Senator Josh Hawley, who's a Republican, write a splashy op-ed in the New York Times saying no American family should go hungry. He's sort of known for taking these populist stances in these moments of crisis. And then you see Democrats with a bill. But then Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has said bills like this are a waste of time. So I guess, do you think there's a possibility of Congress acting here specifically to make sure SNAP is funded?
Sure, there's a possibility. Congress could solve this immediately. Absolutely. So if Mike Johnson is signaling this opposition to standalone SNAP solutions and saying that they're a waste of time, it's clear that political will is the barrier here. Congress is not acting because its hands are tied. It could pass a standalone SNAP funding bill. It could add SNAP funding to a continuing resolution to reopen government services. It could temporarily extend last year's USDA appropriation just for SNAP and WIC. There's a lot that it could be doing, but it's very clear that this is a strategic choice and not a logistics one.
It's so ugly because the people making the choices aren't the people who will feel the pain.
As usual, they're not the ones feeling the pain. And it's interesting you bring that up too, because one of the things that is so baffling to me is that when we're hearing Republicans say these are Democrat programs, they're Democrat programs.
The Democrats are getting killed on the shutdown because we're closing up programs that are Democrat programs that we were opposed to. So we're being, and they're never going to come back.
So many Republicans depend on these programs. And I'm so interested to see how the FAFO phase shakes out in these redder states.
That's fuck around and find out for those who are
Yeah.
who are maybe
Yes.
challenged with the acronyms there.
It is the fuck around and find out phase because they're about to find out. And they're going to realize that these are the very real programs that they depend on.
Yeah, but I really wonder who's going to find out what. That's what I think we don't know.
I think it's going to be interesting because more people are going to find out than realize it right now. Because harkening back to, it's easy to think of, oh, this is just, and I'm going to do suspicious air quotes. You can't see me right now, but I'm doing suspicious air quotes saying this is just the SNAP enrollees that are going to feel this. That's not the case. We are going to see landlords feeling this because families are living paycheck to paycheck and they cannot afford to pay their rent if they've got to put food on the table. And food is the more immediate concern. We're going to see local economies struggle. We're going to see grocery shops. We're going to see farmers markets struggle because these are places that rely on their EBT income just as much as individuals who use it for food do.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and $8 billion a month, that's essentially a subsidy for American food manufacturers and grocers.
Exactly. And I don't hear that being talked about enough. That is $8 billion just in November, right before the holidays, that isn't going to be injected into the economy.
After the break, why SNAP was already under threat, even before this government shutdown, and will remain under threat, no matter what happens now.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, just hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill, too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
One thing that I think has gotten a little bit lost in all the talk of the immediate crisis that faces us on November 1st is the fact that SNAP, the food assistance program, it has not been in great shape since before the government shutdown. There were all sorts of things put into the quote unquote big, beautiful bill that directly impacted how SNAP works and would work moving forward. And I wonder if we can talk about that a little bit, because I think it's important to understanding how much of what's happening now is a consequence of the shutdown and how much of it is a consequence of actual decisions being made in Washington, especially by Republicans. How did this bill that was passed over the summer with a lot of Trump's priorities in it, how did it impact SNAP and the states?
Yes. So one of the things that really got a lot of attention in HR 1 was Medicaid work requirements. But I am hearing less about the SNAP requirements that were really tightened with HR 1. And so the idea behind work requirements is that you only qualify for a program if you can prove, okay, and that proving is a really crucial detail. If you can prove that you are working X number of hours a month, or you are going to job training fairs, or you're getting education, things like that.
That involves a lot of record keeping.
It is so much record keeping, and that is the main reason people are not going to get their benefits, even though they qualify. And so what HR 1 did for SNAP was increase the age where people had to be working. So previously, you only had to, if you were up to 50, you had to work for these work requirements. But the Republicans increased that age now. So people who are older are now going to have to keep working. The other thing they did is reduce the age cutoff for kids that qualify for me as a mother to become exempted. So previously, if I had any kids under 18, I could get exempted, but now my kids have to be under 14. My issue with that, and my issue with similar concerns in the Medicaid work requirements, is that there is so much informal caregiving that happens. There's so much undiagnosed disability that would surely exempt people from these programs if they could just find a way to communicate it. But all of that red tape is going to provide such an administrative nightmare, red tape, that we're going to see millions of people drop off SNAP and Medicaid only due to the red tape, not because they don't qualify for the programs.
Yeah, these are people being kicked off and also kind of people self-deporting from the food stamp program just because they won't hit the requirements. But then there's also other stuff in here, like the cost sharing requirement with the states has gone up. So the states were on the hook for more money. There's the fact that if there are errors in record keeping, which are pretty common is my understanding, and sometimes quite unintentional and have nothing to do with whether someone qualifies for the program or not, you'll be punished too. And so there are all of these ways to basically hit the states with more and more cost that had a lot of states looking at this and going like, oh, well, we're going to be shutting some things down here.
Yeah, it's been so funny, not haha, obviously, but it has been absolutely hilarious to hear about how much federal spending this is going to save. You know what? You're right. It is going to save so much in federal spending, but the need for food and healthcare does not go away because the federal government is not paying for it. This has just shifted costs to the states, which are already strapped. And now states are in the very uncomfortable position, just like these individual families are, of choosing between food and healthcare.
Yeah. I mean, North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Services told the New York Times that they were worried they were going to have to stop offering the SNAP program altogether,
Hmm.
given what was happening here. And that's just interesting to me in this moment because the federal government is essentially stopping the SNAP program altogether right now. And I wonder in some ways if you see this as just a taste of what the GOP was already planning to implement.
Absolutely. And beyond that, I think that's a bit of what we see happening with the USDA here. It's my opinion that one of the reasons the USDA is not stepping in here is so that they can set a precedent with this really narrow definition of their authority to jump in when things get hard. I think we need to look beyond the policy itself and the legislation itself and take some cues from what could be done right now to offset some of this burden that isn't happening.
Oh, so you're saying basically the states may come to the federal government in a few months or a few years and say, hey, we
Mhm.
need relief here. And the USDA is setting this precedent of saying, yeah, we don't do that.
Absolutely.
Huh. At the same time, this SNAP cut is theoretically coming. A lot of Americans are choosing their health care. And of course, this shutdown started because of health care. The Democrats basically saying people are going to be signing up for health care in November. Their premiums are going to be going up because of something in the big, beautiful bill that basically got rid of these federal subsidies for folks. It feels like a double whammy for a lot of families. If you're a family who relies on a subsidy and maybe also food benefits, your costs are going to go through the roof in November.
Yes, it is absolutely feeling like a war on low income working class Americans. It feels like a attack. It's the only way to put it. We are firing shots at people who are least able to absorb them right now. So we are pulling the rug out from people in terms of their food, in terms of their healthcare. We are absolutely demonstrating who matters to this administration and who doesn't.
Do you have a thought about the political consequences of this? Um, I've heard the argument from folks who think about politics a lot that Americans actually need to feel the pain of what the Trump administration is doing here in order to connect the dots and be like, oh, this is impacting me. I don't like this. I want to vote against this. But do you think people will connect those dots? Like what's your evidence of that, I guess?
I do believe that, unfortunately, in the US, many of us need to feel the what about me? What's in it for me? In order to get us activated and voting and involved and to change our stance on what we think about social programs. So we know that so many people in this country are affected by SNAP, are affected by Medicaid, that millions and millions and millions of people will be touched by this beyond just the 42 million number. And it is my sincere hope that, if people aren't willing to just morally think that it matters and we should be taking care of the most vulnerable in our society, once you realize that you are one of the vulnerable, I'm hoping that that is enough to spur people to action.
I think people might leave our conversation feeling a little grim. I wonder if folks are wondering if there is something they can do in this moment, if they have a little extra, if they are thinking about their neighbors, what would you tell them to do?
There are so many options right now, and it is one of the silver linings that's come out of this. I've talked a lot about kind of my community here in Evanston, and it has made me feel so hopeful. And of course, that's juxtaposed against this undeniable despair. But the hope has come from what the community is doing. So the first thing they can do is just support local food pantries and food banks. So those are the first responders when it comes to hunger crises and even small donations. So you can give a food bank $1, they can turn that into multiple meals. You can donate shelf-stable items. You can host micro-food drives. You can volunteer to sort, pack, distribute food. If you don't have the dollar to give, and a lot of us don't right now, donate your time. You can give directly to SNAP enrollees through mutual aid. So we have a local mutual aid group. I would encourage people to connect with their local mutual aid groups. You can go to Facebook or however you connect to your community and just type in your town mutual aid and hopefully something pops up. We're seeing a lot of families turn to GoFundMe and Cash App and things like that. We can see communities banding together. We have community fridges, for example, here in Evanston. But one of the things we're doing is creating emergency pantries where regular people are just putting out their recycle bin and they're stocking it with food. And we have, then you register it on this network that people can access via QR code. So we are literally setting out food at the ends of our driveways for whoever needs it right now.
I know you're an economist, but do you talk to people on the ground too? Like people at food banks and pantries?
All the time. Right now I'm actually doing work with our pediatric food insecurity programs at Lurie Children's Hospital here in Chicago.
What are they telling you right now?
They're terrified. People are terrified. People are heartbroken. They're terrified because there is no next step right now. The people working at the food banks themselves are saying they're running out. They are seeing an outpouring from their communities right now, but it's not going to last forever. And it's certainly no community can offset $8 billion worth of food that's not getting on people's tables.
Lindsay, I'm really grateful for your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Lindsay Allen is a health economist and policy researcher at Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. And if you are looking for a break from the bleakness, remember, tomorrow is Halloween, and there's an extra spooky edition of ICYMI, Slate's internet chat show. This week, host Kate Lindsay talks about how the internet celebrates Halloween, from spooky Twitter display names to ghost sightings going viral on TikTok and LinkedIn. Head on over to ICYMI's feed to hear more. And that's our show. What Next is produced by Elena Schwartz, Rob Gunther, Anna Phillips, and Madeline Ducharme. Paige Osburn is the senior supervising producer of What Next and What Next TBD. Mia Lobel is the head of audio here at Slate. Ben Richmond is the senior director of podcast operations. And I'm Mary Harris. Go track me down on Blue Sky. I'm at Mary Harris. Thanks for listening. Catch you back here next time.